This conference will now be recorded.
And server component as a co-operating system. Okay, this is architecture two components what we have it. So this GDE will be existing on the Windows platform, and server component co-operating system will be installed on the Linux machine. Okay, so this is the right which is in the Linux machine. Okay, so this will be installed on the Windows machine. So once you join in any project, you have to raise the request for GDE license activation, GDE installation, and activation of the license. And then you'll be able to get the host access, right? Host is nothing but the co-operating system installed Linux server is called as a host machine for us. Okay, so we'll be getting access to dev environment, and starting with the dev, you'll be raising the request for SIT, UAT, and production. Okay, so all the environments you'll be having an access to the Linux machines. Okay, so in the actual environment, every environment will have the co-operating system being installed. Okay, but GDE available for you as a developer, that will be connecting to the dev server. Okay, will be connecting to the dev server only with using GDE, but all the higher environments, we move the code, we migrate the code, and then we will be running the jobs with the help of scheduling tools. Okay, so once the jobs have been scheduled, so they'll be running as per the scheduled days and timings, right? How it's been defined.
Yeah.
Okay, so apart from these two, we have a EME, which is which is the repository, right? So enterprise meta environment. Okay, where we are storing the code here. Okay, which will be maintain the versions. Okay, which will be maintain the versions. So it's a version controlling tool. So all the code will be stored in the EME. So multiple versions of the same code, whatever you have defined it, that will be maintained. Okay, how many times it's been modified and it's been maintained in the EME, we can retrieve any version out of it. Okay, so by default, when we do the checkout, so checkout is something like you fetch the latest versions from the EME to the local. Okay, latest version from the EME to local. So we have the EME environment. Okay, so we have EME environment. So this is common. Okay, EME is common, right, for any project you work with. Okay, and we have the host environment. So host in the sense, like as I said, the cooperating system environment. Okay, this is my host environment. So here itself we have the cooperating system available. Okay, and then you have the GD, right? So where you'll be able to connect to the EME and even to the host as well. Okay, this is my GD. Okay, so the EME is available in the environment. Every environment we have, right, code migration required. So for dev and SIT, you can maintain one EME, and for UAT and production, we can maintain one EME server. Okay, so that's how when we migrate the code, also we'll be able to fetch the data from the EME server only. Okay, so the host environments will be multiple. As I said, each and every host environment, it will be available for dev environment and SIT and UAT and prod and COB. Okay, so continuity of business, so which is there for the production environment. Okay, so prod and COB is similar, but in terms of COB is a extra environment what we have in case if the production is failed, production servers are failed at any point of time, we can switch to the COB servers and then we can run on. Okay, we can run our jobs. So as a part of this maintenance, okay, so every year they'll be running the jobs at least for a couple of weeks in the COB server. Okay, to be a best practice. So whatever it's been required, okay, to run the jobs, okay, everything will be switched to the new server, COB server. Okay, so whenever you do the code migration to the production also, the code will be migrated to the COB server as well without saying explicitly. So it's a default. Okay, so that way the code will be migrated at any point of time, right? The code will be migrated. And the database switching, right? The database will be switched to the database will be same database, production database. Okay, so the COP server will be pointing to the production database. The only thing is whatever lookups you maintain it in the production server, if they are required to run within the COP server, those things will be copying it to the jobs as a one-time activity. Okay, before we start the runs in the COP server, we will be doing as a one-time job. Okay, so again, back to the production server, when you're migrating back, you're again copying the updated lookups from the COP server to the production server back. Okay, so that way you are trying to check the COP server is active and it is ready for at any point of time to run the jobs, right, through this process. Okay, so that's a standard process where, right, projects will be implemented and they'll be following it so that the COP servers will be ready to use it at any point of time.
Yep. Niin kuin mä.
Okay, so in the multiple clients with multiple projects with multiple organizations when you work, so these environments will be multiple, so many. When I say SIT, it's not only one single server. Sometimes you maintain multiple servers of SIT. Okay, and sometimes you maintain multiple servers of UAT. Okay, but dev servers is only one. But when you go with the higher environments, right, like between the production and dev, the SIT and UAT, you'll be going on with multiple, so that those multiple servers will be used by the different developers at a time, right? Sometimes you migrate the code to the SIT. On top of it, some other release is coming up, right, in next 1 week or so. So we will be deploying this next 1 week code in the one more server which is available. Okay, so that way having the multiple servers usage will be, they run the jobs to the maintain the code in the different servers of SIT. Okay, so which servers are not being used for that releases, upcoming releases, they'll verify it and then they'll choose that server to run your job. Okay, so similarly UAT also. So they'll be deciding it before production. Okay, so which track of SIT and which track of UAT you should use it, right? When we are planning for the production, they'll plan in advance so that those servers will be getting ready for the so and so specific release only. Okay, so we will be having an access to the all the environments dev to production. Okay, so dev you can write and read the files and then you can remove the files and all, right? You can do from the dev server, but in SIT, UAT, and production, those are all like higher environments. Okay, so when you are like a new developer in the project, you'll be having a developer ID. Okay, we'll be having a developer ID. Okay, so this developer ID will be unique for the each and every developer. So when I log into my home, which this is a host machine, I'll be in my home location. Okay, that means home, my dev ID. Okay, suppose say my developer ID is dev123. Okay, this is my ID. So whichever server I log in, my home location will not change by default. Okay, I have to raise request for every server access, but when I log in, the home location is always home followed by my developer ID. Okay, but in the higher environments, the starting from SIT to production, so we will be having a functional ID. Okay, one specific functional ID. Okay, so functional ID will be used in SIT, UAT, and prod. Okay, so this will be a specific ID so that whenever the code is been deployed or any files are being created within the ETL process in the higher environments, they will be created with this functional ID only. Okay, so anyhow, the file access and all, right, everything will be depends upon the user ID on which the job is running on.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
so that you'll be you will not have access. Sometimes you to remove the file or you modify the file, you don't have access, even though you have login access to the higher environment. It's only the read-only access for you.
Correct.
Okay, so these things we will be checking on. So functional ID will be available. So we maintain the code in the host environment, each and every host environment. That is nothing but the sandbox. Okay, that's called a sandbox. So we maintain the sandbox here. Okay, so sandbox. Stop me whenever you have any question. Okay, at any point of time,
Sure.
you have any question, let me know. We have a sandbox here and we have a project here. Okay, so project is a term used explicitly in the Ab Initio to say that it's a path, it's a project folder. Okay, it's a folder structure of the code, how you maintain it in the EME. Okay, it starts with the projects as a root folder. Okay, and then it will be having some subfolders. Okay, so for suppose say I am having private asset. Okay, these are the subfolders I have it after projects. Okay, so this thing will be changing. Okay, this thing will be changing, but the only thing is this thing will be constant. Okay, the projects will be constant. Okay, this will be constant across any project you work with.
Yeah.
This is constant.
It's like similar to Java, right? They are maintaining the class files, some library files, the
Mhm.
project, like whatever necessary for the project,
Right.
like hierarchy, I can say.
Hierarchy, the folder structure in the Linux server. Okay, this is like
Correct.
the way you have the home directory followed. Every home directory will be having starting with home only. Okay, root
Right.
home.
Yeah.
So similarly, the project path in the EMEs will be starting with the slash projects. Okay, root
Okay.
projects. Okay, so this is common. So when you started working on the projects, any applications you work with, so they give you the project path for you. Okay, so which is your
Okay.
project path where I maintain the code and all. That is with respect to the EME level. Okay, so but once you got access for the host GDE, okay, and you are able to log into the GDE, connecting to the GDE and all, right? So then you can do the checkout of the project. Okay, so the GDE and the host will be connected through the settings. Okay, within the GDE, we'll be having settings where you can connect your host machine. That means you have to provide the host server name, login ID, and password in the host level, right? In the GDE level. Okay, that way you'll be connecting to the host environment. Okay, so you do checkout of a project. So you do checkout of a project. Okay, so this will be fetching the code or updated code from the EME to the local. Okay, so this project path, whatever folders we have it. Okay, so there are some subfolders within the project folder. Okay, so which will be having MP. Okay, so we have DML. Okay, XFR. So we have some subfolders like this. Okay, some standard subfolders. So in any application, again, this part is common. Okay, so this part is common. Okay, all these folder structures will be common. So we have a few more folders available in a given project. So all these folders will be common. So this code will be checked out. That means it will be updated, copied from the EME to the local host environment. Any questions, Chandra?
No, Kumar, I'm good. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So now we will try to do the settings in the GDE. Okay. So this will be available in the VM. Okay, in our local machine. So I'll provide you the installations, how to do it.
Mhm.
Okay, so for now, how to see this GDE, how to read it. Okay, so suppose say how to understand about GDE. So we have some icons available. When we are using, we'll come to know what are those. Okay, what we need it. And this is called as a workspace where you start using the components and building the graph. Okay, so we build the graphs. Okay, so using the GDE. Okay, using the GDE, we build the graphs. Okay, and those graphs will be stored as a .mp within the host environment. Okay, within the host environment, these MPs will be stored. Okay, so within this host environment, I'll store my graphs. Okay, and the graph is nothing but it's a collection of components. So we use a group of components and you will build the graph. Okay, so the data flow will be decided and then you select the component and you try to build the graph. Okay, using the GDE. Okay, so in applications, when you see you have development, we are talking about development, but once it has been in the production, in the live, those applications need to be running on continuously and they need to be supported by some teams. Okay, so it might be a production support team or it might be any team where they monitor the scheduled jobs and all 24/7, 24/5, the kind of support they want it. So the projects will be in the support projects as well. Okay, so when you get a role, they might be asking for a developer role or it might be a support projects where you will be monitoring the jobs and you will be working on different aspects of the project. Okay, not on the GD development, but how to maintain the project. Okay, so more you will be learning on the application, but how it should run, but you won't do that any kind of development in the kind of support projects. Okay, but you need to know how the Ab Initio is running and what kind of if the job fails, what we have to do and all right. So those things in general will be learning in the support projects. But in development, you'll do everything. So as a developer, you do it, and even you support the applications when there's a failures and when there's any kind of fix, you have to do it. Okay. So from the settings, you have the run settings here in this version, run settings. So, okay, so within the settings, we have to define the host settings. Okay, to connect to the host environment, we need to define the settings. So once you open this window, you can click on the new button here. And here itself, you find some options. So when you connect to the environment, actual environment of Linux machines as a host environment for you, you have to select the method. Okay. So along with these options, we'll find extra option here. What is the host environment? Host. Okay. There's one more option called as host in the latest versions, what we are using, 4.x.
So which version
Okay.
we are using?
In the projects, what we work on, that's 4. Versions, what we're using. But here, this is 2.10.
Okay.
Okay, only this version is available for us, right, to practice and learn it. But in the actual applications, you'll be keep on moving with the latest up-to-date versions.
So currently Ab Initio latest version is 4.1.
4.3.3.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so you'll find one more option with this settings. So you'll find the host as one of the option where you can select Unix. Unix
Okay.
as a host. Okay, Windows also available, but we work with the Unix. So once you selected the Unix as a host environment, from the methods, you can see, you will not see all these options if you are selecting Unix. Okay, you'll find REXEC and Telnet and SSH. These three options are available for Unix. Okay, REXEC, Telnet and SSH. So out of these three options, we work with the SSH connectivity. Okay, the method we are using is SSH connectivity. And then you have to provide your host name. Okay, that means the host server name, the Linux machine, the development box server name we have to provide here. Okay, and then how to find out the server name, host server name once you log into the host environment?
Host name?
hostname, right? So we use the command hostname. Okay, in the command line, you can run the hostname to get the what is the host. Okay, so it will provide you the server name. Okay, the output is server name. Okay, so whatever you get it from the host name, you work with, you take the server name and then provide here. Okay, and login ID is your developer ID, as I said. And what is your password to connect to the Linux machine towards the host machine? So we have to provide this password here. Okay, and then the host directory optional. So in the as you're connecting to the actual environment, this will be your home location. Okay, this will be your home path. So home followed by your developer ID. That's your default path, what we have to provide, your home location. Okay, and the operating system version auto and location is the operating system location. If you want to know, there's an environment parameter available within the host environment, which is AB home. Okay, we have the AB home parameter. So you have to echo the value of AB home, you'll get it. So the path where the operating system is installed, and that path we have to provide it in the host environment. Okay, and the shell type will be console KSH. Okay, so for every MP, you'll have a KSH also. Okay, for every MP, you'll have a KSH also. That means it's a deployed script for a graph. It is a deployed script for a graph. So for every graph, it's been having associated .ksh file with the same naming convention. The only thing is extensions will be changing .mp and .ksh. So to store this code in the EME level, we have different folders. Okay, so MPs will go into MP folder. Okay, so similarly, the KSH also will go to the one folder called as run folder. Okay, we have run folder. So this run folder will have the .ksh files.
Okay.
Okay, so if you want to modify any existing graph in the EME, okay, I have a graph available. So let's say the way they started you to do some kind of minor modification on the existing graph. So you will do the checkout first of your project. That means your sandbox will be built in the local.
Okay.
So once you checked out, okay, so what are the steps we are going with? Okay, what are the steps we are going with once we have a project or anything, right? Application you're working with. Okay, so you will check out the project. Okay, so using the project path or what, however, how to do checkout we'll see later, but we'll do the checkout process of a given project. Okay, so once you do checkout, so sandbox will be created.
Sandbox
Okay,
nothing but it's a local copy of entire project, right?
local copy, right? It's a
Okay.
local copy of the given project. Okay, if you see here, so this is my project path, and this would be your sandbox path. Okay, which is a local. Just like whatever you have it in the EME, the whole folder structure will be copied to your home environment.
Okay.
Okay, so you'll do checkout of a project. Okay, so check out the project, and then sandbox will get created. Once you have sandbox available, so we can open the sandbox from GDE. Okay, and then open the specific object which you want to modify. Object in the sense any graph, any DML, any XFR, anything is, we can simply call it as object. Okay, and then as it is an existing object, to modify it, okay, to modify the object, we have to lock it. Okay, we have a lock icon over the GDE. We will press the lock button so that it will get locked. So once it is locked, it's been available for you only to modify. Other users cannot modify at the same time, but they can see it's been locked by you. Okay, so they'll see the lock button.
But as you said, sandbox is local, right? So
Mhm.
even we locked, how other will know that? Because they will also check out their project, right?
Yeah, they do. Project checkout will be done by every user.
Yeah,
All
but
right.
once sandbox is created, that is local to us, right? So if I
Local to
open any
you to write it, to
write it.
writing and all. But when you apply the lock will be applied at the EME level.
Oh, okay.
Okay, even though you have it in your local, it doesn't mean
Mm,
that only you have it. Okay, the same graph will be available for me as well.
right.
Okay, so but and the only thing is to obtain a writing access on the graph, existing graph, to modify it, you have to lock it. So by
So once we
locking,
lock it, it will go to EMA to.
yeah,
Uh,
the lock will be applied at the EME level.
mm,
Okay, but at the same time, if suppose I am opening the same object and seeing it on the GDE, I will see the lock symbol, right, which is in the locked state. Okay,
okay,
so it's not been unlocked state, but it is locked state. When I put my mouse over the lock button, it will show it's locked by you
user. Okay.
with your ID. Okay, so by that way, I will come to know who it is, by which user it is been locked by.
Yeah, got it.
Okay, so to modify, we will write to modify any object, we will be locking it, and then we do the modifications, right? So modify the object, okay, and then we do the testing and saving the graph, okay, testing and then save it. Okay, so save it means it is up to the sandbox level only. Okay, this saving, so it will be updated in the EME once you do check-in. Okay,
Okay.
so once check-in is completed, gets updated into the EME
But when this lock will be released?
during that time, during the check-in time. During
Okay.
check-in time, once it has been updated in the EME, the lock will be released.
Okay. Assume that like I've taken the copy and I'm updating one graph by locking it.
Mm,
Okay. But
mm,
I've done the changes in and saved it.
mm,
But other person also again because yeah I saved it, but it is not migrated yet because
mm.
for me
Bec-
it's not a priority to check in.
mhm,
So I just left as it is. So
mhm,
if someone they need the graph or their updates, so in that
mm.
case how they will do it?
If they want to modify on the same object,
Right.
okay, so but it's been locked by you.
Mm.
So the only couple of options we have it. Okay, one thing is if they can wait until you finish up your changes and check in.
Hmm.
Okay, and otherwise they'll request you to release the lock if it is some emergency on the same object.
Okay, we can unlock it. Okay.
We can unlock it, but while you do unlocking it, you might take the backup of the existing graph. Okay, you can take the backup of the existing graph and then release it.
Okay.
So when you release the lock, the changes will be reverted as you did not checked in.
Well, okay.
Okay, so you can revert it. So releasing the lock, in fact, it's like a rollback of your code, whatever you made the changes.
Okay.
Okay, so you rolled back the changes, and then when you roll back the changes, it will be unlocked. So completely it is in the state the way you before you started your code changes, how the graph looks, it is as it is available. So the other person can make the changes. So
Yeah, it is
again,
not, yeah,
mhm,
it is nothing but like we are working on the same repository in dev.
right, right,
Okay, got it. Yeah,
okay. And as we are trying to take the priority, like we have to take the order of the releases as well. Okay,
right.
so even though both the users want to make the changes, we need to decide, okay, whose changes should go first and all. Okay,
Yeah,
based on that, we need to ensure that you take your own only the code whatever you are supposed to take the to the production into the production release. Maybe the other users really code changes should go after a month after your release went on to the production. So we need to ensure that you are taking the right version.
yeah.
Okay, so like maybe if it is the other user want to take the changes after your code changes are done, so you will be doing the check-in with your changes, and then on top of it, you will start making the changes.
Yeah, got it.
Okay. Otherwise, if you're releasing the log without your changes being checked in, even though he is trying to make the changes, he need to explicitly take that version to the production. Okay, it won't be the latest version. Okay, normally the latest version is always an updated version in the EME.
Understood.
Okay, so the order will be always yeah, the previous release version number will be less number compared to the latest version release version number. So version numbers will be keep on increasing for any object. Okay, for any given object, the version numbers will be keep on updated, increasing also, right? So when you see the version number 100 and version number 400 on a given same graph in the EME, so which version is the latest version means having the version with 400.
Yeah.
Okay, so this way we will perform this, right? All the steps from the modification point of view. So once you define all these settings, okay, you click on a test login. Ideally, like the local host also, right? You'll be providing the dev server name. Okay, dev host server name, as I said.
Mm.
Okay, so once you provide all these details, you have to click on test login. If we are connecting to the actual dev server here itself also, it should work. But as we are not connecting to this server, okay, I had just given provide the details, it will fail. Okay,
Mm.
so it will fail here at this point. But the settings should be like this. Okay, the location should be AB home location, and the host directory option should be your home path. Rest all looks like similar. Okay, so developer ID is your ID. But in this version of practice version, we are connecting to the host environment, which is Windows host environment. Okay, that
Okay.
means we are going to use the Windows server. So the connection method for Windows is not SSH connection method. It will be local NT host.
But in this case, all the graphs will be saved in which format? Like as you said, it is .ksh, right, for Linux.
Mm.
But in
.ksh
this
file will
case,
be generated. Okay, in the
here also .ksh.
no, here it won't create any .ksh and all. .bat files will be created. Okay, so but anyhow, we will not work on Windows. Okay, so don't worry about Windows specifications here. Why? Because you'll get confused.
Mhm.
Okay, so why? Because we are not using this version at all
In real time.
in real time.
But for
Okay,
practice
at any
purpose, it is Windows.
Windows you create it, but you
Mm.
won't see anything at the background. Okay, you always work with GDE. You save any graph at so and so location. That graph will be saved with the .mp.
Okay.
Okay, that's it. So what else other files are created in Windows and all? Least look on those points. Okay, why? Because again you'll get confused. So only
Okay.
thing is in the Linux machine you'll have a KSH file being generated. Okay, will
Okay.
be focusing on the actual environment, how it looks like, and we will be learning those points majorly.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, local entity host is the method what we select here, and automatically you see all the things have been changed automatically, right? So the host is been disabled. Okay, we don't require to log in explicitly as it is a local environment Windows. So anti-batch file will be saved like .bat. So now you click on test login, these settings will be verified. Okay, you should see this run settings verified with all the connection settings once you connect it.
Okay.
Okay, and then click on OK. Okay, so this way you define your settings at one time, at initial time when you log into your projects, when you started working on the applications. And the time you will modify this is only when you have something, your password get updated over the host machine. Okay, and one more thing is here itself, when we see in the new version, you'll find the which operating system version you're choosing on. Okay, we'll have one more option. Okay, from the drop down list. Okay, in the normally like whenever we have some operating system versions getting latest versions getting updated. Okay, so in the dev environment they maintain it with the existing old version folders. Even the latest folders also will be maintained in the AB home location. Okay, so as they maintain all the folders, so you are free to use any version. Okay, so once we have some higher versions available, then you choose from the drop down list the next version what you're supposed to connect with and test it in the dev environment. Okay, so after a while, once we are using all this new code, new operating system version across all the environments to the higher environment, right? All the higher environments, we are using the same co-op environment. Then we will request to remove these older folders from the host environments. Okay, on right hand side, you'll see the components, component organizer, where you see the components when you open the folders. Okay, so these are different components available in each and every folder as per the category they've been grouped up. Okay, so you can drag and drop the components over the canvas and you can start building the graph.
Yep.
Okay, so in case if you want to read any flat file, you can use this input file as a source component, okay, to read the data file. Okay, this is my input, and if you want to create a flat file as output, you will choose output file component. Okay, and you want to perform any operations with the data. Suppose I want to perform sorting operation, so I will select the sort component. So once you drag the components what you want, you can connect the components using the ports. Okay, so from the read port to the in port. Okay, so this is read port, input port, output port, write port. Okay, but simply you can call like a ports in general. Okay, so connect the ports and then you have to define the properties in each and every component. So which file I am supposed to read and what is the data format of the file, input file I have it, and what is the sort key I need to pick up. Do I need to do the sorting on the ascending order or descending order? Okay, and then output file, where I'm supposed to create the file and what is the file name, output file name, and if you have any record layout been changed for the output file, that record layout we have to define it. Okay, so we have to provide the absolute path of the file locations as well along with the file name so that it will read from that specific location and what's the file you're reading on. Any questions?
No, understood. Yeah.
Chandra?
Yeah, it's okay, Kumar.
Okay. Okay. So when you read any file, okay. So when we talk about the files here, we call about multiple things here. Okay, which is nothing but serial file, and we talk about multi-file. Okay, we call it as serial file and multi-file. Okay, they'll ask in terms of interviews what is a multi-file and all. Okay, so you should be able to answer it once we cover up those topics in a separate sessions. Okay, so serial file, multi-file. So the file you have the serial file. Okay, it's simply a flat file. It's simply a flat file. And when you try to define them in the components, okay, even though it's a serial file or a multi-file, we use the same input file component and output file component to read and write. Okay, the same components we use it. But the only thing is we have to see the properties. What are the properties we are supposed to define in the input file component? So when you double click on the component, it will open the properties window and you'll find the URL. So where the file location and file name are supposed to be defined. And then in the ports tab, you have to define the record structure of the input file. Okay. So one is URL of the file, along with the file name, and other one is the record format that should be defined in the ports tab. Okay. So if you see your serial file, the URL should be specified in such a way that it starts with file colon, and then you have to provide the file path and then file name. Okay. And then we have the DML. Okay, we have the DML. So DML is a data manipulation language, which is the record format here. Okay, it's a record format, or you can call it as record layout. Okay, and then during the output file also you have to specify the similar kind of URL and the DML. Okay, even the output file also it is the same to couple of properties you're supposed to define it. Okay, but if it's a multi-file, okay, it's a partitioned file. You create it within Ab Initio. Okay, it's a partitioned file. You will create it in the Ab Initio. We will see that. Okay, how do we create the partitions in the Ab Initio, right? Using this normal file, you'll convert it into multiple partitions. Okay, we'll learn about in depth in the next sessions. Okay, and we'll deep dive in the multi-file topics. Okay, what is a multi-file? Why we are using? What is the advantage? And how to create it? Everything will be learning it. Okay, so if you are using a multi-file, okay, for now, the URL you will be specifying like m file colon, and then you define the multi-file path and then file name. Okay, the DML remains same, even though it's a serial file or multi-file, the record format is common. But the only thing is you are just prefixing with m file or file colon. Okay, so this prefixing you are using it in the URL. Okay, so if you see in this component, in the input file component, here I am defining in the URL file colon and define the serial file. Okay, let's say that I'm using my home path. Okay, I have defined file colon as a prefix. Okay, this is a serial file. Just for you to understand, I'm writing it as a serial file. But in terms of in general, we use the actual what is kind of file it is. Okay, if it's a account file or customer file, okay, what type of file it is, we'll be just giving some kind of business function name. Okay, so here I'm providing the serial file. By defining it, you see there's some change in the component view, how we look it, right? Before we define it, how it looks like, and after you define how it looks like.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a serial file, what I defined it. Okay, and similarly now I want to define the multi-file. Okay, but even though I'm not giving the multi-file path here, I'm just showing you how we need to read it. Okay, so I'm supposing my multi-file path is this one, and I'm prefixing with mfile colon here. Okay, so for you to understand, this is a multi-file. So it looks like as it is the way you have to pick up the input file component. Okay, the view outline view looks similar. So once you make this this is a practice. Okay, everyone will understand that this is a serial file and this is a multi-file, even though you're not labeling it. Okay, so everyone will understand that it's a serial file, it's a multi-file. Suppose if you are not following this mfile colon also, this will work. Your graph will work. It will read the so and so multi-file from the so and so location. It works, but the only thing is you will see some difference here. Okay, I'm not using the prefix now. Okay, I'm not using the prefix, but I'm just providing the path and then file name. So do
Yeah,
you see
it
the
is not
difference?
confusing.
Confusion, right? So
Mm.
the practice we need to use it is we need to use the prefixes. Okay, to ensure that anyone can understand that it is a serial file or it's a multi-file. Why? Because once you develop the code, it's not only you will be modifying the that code in the future. Anyone can modify it. Anyone can do analysis at end-to-end level. Okay, so where how the graph is running, and where the record is flowing, how the record is flowing from one graph to other graph. What are the operations we do in between here and there? Anyone can try to understand the existing flow. Okay,
Yeah,
that's why we use this practice of a prefix. Okay, that way it will be easy to understand, and we'll use it. Okay, without these prefixes also still it works, but the recommendation is we have to use them. Okay, that is one thing. And in terms of DML, okay, so DML is a record format, as I said. So when we take any file name, okay, so we have some file available. Okay, something like this, we have some data. Okay. Okay, so if we have different fields data with a comma delimiter, okay, so what we call this delimiter file? What is your delimiter? Comma.
come on.
It's a comma delimiter file. It can be a comma, it can be a pipe, okay, anything. Okay, but this file is a comma separated file, but your file can be a pipe separated, or it can be a control characters also sometimes. Okay, within the field separator, it can be a tilde separator, field to field. It depends. Mostly, comma will be mostly used, or you will see control a character. Okay, control a cap a is a single character when it see in the file level. Okay, it's not two characters. When we type it here, we type like a two characters in this Windows, but in the case of Unix files, you'll see it as a single character. Okay, that way your file will be coming up. Okay, so if this is a file, I need to define the DML. So the DML you specify will start with record and end with end. Okay, it's a kind of record layout. What are the fields we have it and all. So the first field is a numeric type here. Okay, for numbers we use a decimal type as a data type, and then in the braces you have to use the delimiter, okay, of this field. So this is my first field. And next one is a characters. So here we use string as a data type to read that characters. Right? So comma as a delimiter, and then we read the second field. Okay, again we have one more string data, but this is the last field what I have. It's a new line character. So after this third field, I have a new line. Normally, if you say after field 1, we have a comma. After field 2, we have a comma. But after field 3, we have a new line. That's how we are writing this /n as a new line character. Okay, so in case you have some kind of date fields, you can specify the date data type as well. Okay, if it's a date type. Okay, we have timestamp also, date time data type as well, right? So date time or date, we will use it along with this. So we define the DMLs according to the record layout, how we have it. Okay, so you'll define this. So we have to define this DML in the component by opening this input file component. Okay, so as we define here, go to the ports tab and then click on a new button. It will bring up the body structure record and end. Okay, you can just enter in between the record and end. As we have the complete DML created, I'm just copying it here. Okay, and then once you define it, you just click on validate. Okay, this is a validate button. So record format is okay. In case if any field is a nullable field, that means nulls also possible from the source file, means we will be writing the definition with this equal to null within the braces double quotes. Okay, this definition implies that nulls are possible for this field. Okay, they will provide you this input file layout document, input file specification document for you, how the each and every field, what type data type it should be, okay, and what kind of delimiter it will come with, okay, what is the file name exactly it comes with. Everything will be documented and they will be sharing with you. Okay, so you can check that document and you define your DMLs accordingly. Okay, so once you define this DML, you can read this file. In general, view data will work. Okay, but here this is, I just provide the file name only. I don't have this path and file here in this environment. Okay, for this environment, we have some sample file available, which is been predefined for you. Okay, like a serial file. If you view data, you can find some data here. Okay, so you go with the grid mode, which is easy to read.
Okay. Sample data set.
Right. So you'll have some around 300 records available. So you can use this file, but when we view the data, by default, it will show up 10 records. If you give up all the records, and it will show up all the records of a given file. Okay. So when we view the data here in this version, you can find sometimes some fields or some records are missing at the end of the view. Okay, but that is the issue with this version, but not with the actual data. Actual data will have all the records. Okay, so grid mode, as you're seeing the grid mode, now you see it should be having 284 records, but you see only 281 as a complete records and 282 is been printed. Okay, so this way you'll find few records are not showing up in the grid mode, but actually it is available. Okay, so the other view of the data, when we see it here, right? So view data, I can choose format text mode. Okay, so you see this format is something different, record by record.
Okay.
Okay, now it displays all the records, including
Yeah.
last record 284.
Yeah.
Okay, this way you can see it, all the data will be existing, but only the view data will be having an option, right? Problem with this. Okay, so to run a simple job, okay, I'll use this file. Okay, and then I will disable this component here. Okay, right click, you have the disable option. Okay, or better you can delete them. Okay, when you're running, it may run out with some errors. Okay, if you're not defining and not using it for these input files, especially in this version. Okay, so here the sort component is to perform the sort operation. We'll talk more about sort in next session. For now, in the parameters, you will find the key. Okay, in the parameters, you will find the key. So the key is again on which key you want to perform the sorting. Okay, I choose state. Okay, so state will be the sorting option. By default it is ascending order. Okay, if you see we have ascending option here. You have descending also if you want. Okay, so and then the output file name, we have to define the output file name. So I'm just defining the output file name. I'm not providing the path here. It will go into some default location in this environment. Okay, so when you click on browse option, it will show up in which path it is getting created in the local. Okay, in the Windows C Ab Initio temp folder, you can see all the files been created here. Okay, so now I just given the file name only, not path, but the actual thing is we will always provide the file path as well. Okay, the file path and file name is compulsory mandate. Okay, all this complete syntax. Okay, as it is in Windows, I'm not providing the path, but you can provide your path if you want in the Windows as well. Okay, to run the job, there is a run button here. Okay, which is F5. When I run the job, you will see this output window. You can close it. And if you want to open the output window again back, view job output. Okay, and you can see the data. So we can see the output data also by seeing on the view data option, right? I would like to see in the grid mode, first 100 records at least. Okay, so you can see the state-wise, the data has been sorted. Okay, you can see the state AL, CA followed by CA and all, right? So we are able to see the data in the order. Clear? Any questions? Okay, so we'll see it, right? We'll continue tomorrow with
Yep.
the next things.
Sure.
Okay, Kumar. Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Chandra?